Oh, okay. At least I got to disconnect the other come along from the other chain fall from the loader and close the upper bulkhead doors. But as cold as it is getting tonight, I really don't feel like having this insulated door wide open to the basement. Causes the boiler to lose too much heat, and the cellar gets really cold, and a lot of heat gets lost from the heating system that's supposed to be going upstairs. It causes the boiler to run more and costs me a lot of oil. So let's see if we can't get this thing in. Okay, so what I've got is I've got the chain wrapped around one of the main I-beams, carrying beams in the house. That's a very large beam, and if you can believe it, the battery on this bloggy is now going dead. Well, anyways, what I've got now is I've got that anchored up there. I've got this chain fall hooked to the same strap, so as I'm putting some upward pressure on it with this come along or chain fall, I am also pulling horizontally, and I'm getting it to, well, how do you like that? I get it all the way down here, only a couple feet out from the basement floor, and just now it just toppled off of the top here of my pile of 2x and hit the floor. Gotta talk fast because the battery's dying. Thought I first just did. Well, it's the next evening. I had to work all day today, and what ended up happening last night, in addition to the batteries on both cameras dying, and so I wasn't able to actually show you last night, but what ended up happening was I was in the process of trying to get the lathe over the threshold. I had those 3 wooden 2x inch and a half thick blocks of wood stacked up, and the critical mistake I made was I had the leg here on those blocks, and what ended up happening was if I had some more blocks of wood stacked up or some more boards over here, none of what happened would have happened. What happened was when I started putting that horizontal pulling force on it this way and the vertical pulling force, suddenly the lathe shifted and decided it wanted to slide down the ramp. Because I no longer am tethered to the loader with one of the chain falls, there was nothing to stop it from sliding. So what it did was it actually shifted this block of wood and made this block right here fall off, skid right off. You can actually see the wood's really damaged there, where this actually bounced off of here with this piece of wood, then bounced, slid right, it literally slid, boom, boom, hit the floor with such force that I've actually damaged my cellar floor. I've got chunks taken out of it. I don't know how bad yet until I get that out of there. But the biggest problem is when I initially looked at the lathe, it didn't look like I saw any damage until I got down low and discovered what I have done is I have cracked the leg. I believe they call this a pan leg because this is the leg that supports the lathe in the pan, as opposed to a floor leg, which is what the pan sits on, which are the tall legs. So there's a big crack right there. I can't quite see, there's a crack, it runs from there, it runs right down. I can't quite see what other damage there may or may not be. It has separated from the bottom of the bed of the lathe on the back side there. So, and I got oil leaking out. Looks like oil's leaking out. It's dripping there and running down, but it's coming out. Looks like it's coming out this bearing end right here. But that's just that's not due to the fact that this fell. None of this hit the ground, so this whole gear train and everything looks like it's still perfectly fine. So what I gotta do is I gotta get this thing in here. There is ice cold air just flooding in through this bulkhead opening because the bulkhead doors don't seal airtight. And I'm not gonna go through another night where we're gonna go down into the 30s, low 30s with this door open. So that's the job at hand, is getting this in here. This is going to be really tricky now. I wanted to be able to pry with the bar underneath there. Now I'm going to have to be real wary of that because of the fact that it's cracked. So I'll snap some pictures and put those up. Well, in the absence of any other ideas right now, I think I'm going to go back to using the chain fall to put some horizontal force on it and also take some of the weight. You can see it just skidded there. It's not the greatest situation. I'm putting a lot of, my fear is I'm putting a lot of force on this damaged leg now. I don't want to completely break it off. This is really solid right here, so I don't think I have to worry about that. But I could easily be breaking it right around the bolt holes that hold this in. The way it's cracked right now, this might actually still be serviceable, or maybe I could even, it's cast iron, so I probably would maybe have it brazed, or maybe even try it myself, I don't know. Now, ideally I'd like to find another one, but you know, the 1926 Hendey lathe, even if somebody was parting one of these out, they wouldn't think to part out the feet, you know. That's the kind of thing that would be one of the first things to go to the scrap yard. Or it would be with the bed, you know. I don't need a bed. I need a bed to sleep in. If you can see in there. Yeah, I put some pretty good, I'll get the strap out of the way here. Put some pretty darn good divots there in the floor. Nobody to blame but myself. Should have realized that that's what would happen. I think about it. Something as simple as just having a couple of more boards there on the floor would have prevented all this. Well, now I'm crying over spilt milk, so I guess I'll just stop talking about that and continue doing what I'm doing here. Alright, now my problem is that I'm actually getting to the point now where the vertical force there is no longer, it's now back, so I've got to either move my chain fall back further if I want to continue lifting, or give up with the vertical force and just use sheer horizontal pulling force at an angle to get this in. Let's see if I take the orange chain fall, the one that's doing the vertical pulling, if I take that, just ease the tension on that one and take up more. Well, so far, so good with that. But now, as it's moving, the tailstock end of the lathe, every time it slides down a little more, it's sliding to the left. it's no longer centered. My tapering jig, which I already damaged part of, is getting dangerously close to that door jamb. So see if I can't remedy that with the pry bar. Alright, so I've just repositioned the blocks under there in preparation for the rear set of feet to come down. I've also added a board on the floor there, which is what I should have had last night. The irony being that now I probably won't even need it, because the danger of that wanting to suddenly slide forward off of those blocks is minimal, because now the majority of the mass is exerting force more on these front legs here vertically. In other words, this isn't at much of an angle now. You know, last night that tailstock was a couple of feet higher up, and so the angle was much more severe. So let's see. I'm thinking if I get my floor jack down here, my automotive floor jack, that should be able to lift this. I think it's a 2.5 ton or 2.25 ton floor jack. Could put a 2x4 underneath the bed, and right about here, close to the back of the leg, so I'm still under putting the force underneath the most mass here. And I think I might still be able to slide the floor jack right in here and jack this end up. And if I could jack this end up, then maybe I could get a dolly underneath these legs, this foot that's damaged. The danger, of course, is when I jack it, it's going to still have a proclivity of to move sideways quickly, because when I jack it, that's going to take the friction that's holding this from sliding down right now is basically the fact that that's pushing into the floor. So when I lift that up, it's going to want to possibly slide that way quickly, and of course it could fall off of the floor jack, which is bad. Of course, the alternative is I just continue to pull horizontally, or at this angle that I'm pulling with my chain fall, and see if it'll continue to slide at least to the point where maybe the tailstock end foot is on those boards. Then maybe I'd be in better shape to jack this thing. Alright, let's go back to pulling and seeing how stubborn this is. Can't get over how it continues to want to turn. I'm not even sure why. Probably has something to do with those legs. That front foot being broken in some way. It's putting unusual pressure on something. The closer I get to the bottom here, the harder it is to shift this over. I'm putting the bar down in between the ways, and I'm taking care not to be hitting the inside edges of those ways with the bar, and I think I've been pretty successful at doing that. So I move those boards. Dum dum dum. I don't know if you can see the chunks. That's where it was digging in, and then I think it actually was on there. That's where it was resting on there, and then I think it popped off of there and slid off and did this damage. boiler's firing up, getting ready to suck down a few more gallons of oil. Oh, that's why it was shifting so much. That leg that I damaged, that big space that I was showing on the other side where I damaged the leg, that just closed up again. Yeah. Whoa. Uh-oh, not good.